On June 1st, 2025, a second group of white Afrikaner families quietly landed on American soil, not as tourists or economic migrants, but as participants in a controversial resettlement program offered by former US President Donald Trump. Their reason? Fear. Fear of violence, land loss, and cultural erasure in the land of their birth, South Africa. While this migration may appear marginal in numbers, it is seismic in symbolism. It reflects a deeper crisis, not just in South Africa's nationhood, but in its soul. A controversial offer, a quiet departure. Donald Trump's resettlement offer, framed as protection for persecuted white farmers, has ignited global debate. Critics accuse him of race-baiting and politicizing a complex situation, while supporters claim he's addressing what others won't, that some white South Africans, particularly in rural farming communities, live in fear of violence and feel abandoned by the state. This isn't the first time Afrikaners have left en masse. Since the end of apartheid, thousands have emigrated to Australia, the UK, and Canada. But this new chapter is uniquely loaded, not just because of Trump's involvement, but because of what it says about reconciliation fatigue, mistrust, and the unresolved trauma woven into South Africa's post-apartheid project. Understanding the fear. There's no denying South Africa's struggles with rural crime. Violent attacks on farms, though statistically affecting all racial groups, are often framed in the media and political discourse as racially targeted. For many Afrikaners, especially those tied to generational land, the fear is existential. But fear is not only about statistics, it's about perception, memory, and power. In the post-1994 South African narrative, Afrikaners have moved from former oppressors to, in their eyes, marginalized citizens of a new order they feel excluded from. Are they victims of a racialized state? Or are they uncomfortable with losing historical privilege? The answer, uncomfortably, is both and neither. Race, memory, and migration. Migration is rarely just about safety. It's also about belonging. For many Afrikaners, the emotional dislocation began long before Trump's offer. Land expropriation debates, the economic shift toward black economic empowerment, BEE, and a perceived cultural sidelining have created a potent mix of fear and resentment. To feel unsafe, culturally, economically, and physically, in the country your ancestors helped build, however unjustly, is a psychological burden. But it must be held in tension with the reality of post-apartheid South Africa, a black majority still grappling with the legacies of stolen land, systemic inequality, and generational poverty. In this tension, empathy is elusive but necessary. A nation's identity. In flux, South Africa's identity has always been layered. A nation forged by colonization, scarred by apartheid, and struggling for unity. The Afrikaner exodus challenges the rainbow nation ideal by highlighting that reconciliation without dialogue becomes performance. That fear, unspoken and unresolved, metastasizes into division. The departure of Afrikaners under a foreign political banner, particularly one as polarizing as Donald Trump's, is not just about security. It is a crisis of trust. Trust in the government, in transformation, and in the future. But must trust be a zero-sum game? The risk of symbolic collapse. There is a deeper danger here, that the exodus becomes weaponized by extremists on all sides, that Afrikaners who leave are painted only as victims, that those who stay are vilified, that the government is portrayed as racially vengeful rather than institutionally reformative. What South Africa needs is truth without fragility. Courageous spaces where Afrikaners can express fear without invoking apartheid nostalgia, and where historically disadvantaged groups can demand justice without being accused of reverse racism. Only then can a true national identity emerge, one that doesn't require emigration to feel at home. Conclusion: Who gets to stay and who gets to belong? As the second group of Afrikaners depart South Africa for an uncertain future in the United States, we are left with a sobering question. Is their departure an indictment of post-apartheid failure or the unavoidable cost of transformation? More importantly, what kind of nation does South Africa want to become? One that holds space for all its citizens, or one that continues to hemorrhage its own? Until South Africa confronts the fears behind this migration, its most fragile legacy, belonging, will remain up for export.